Thank you. It's a great honor to speak in GNOBB lecture series, and delighted to be here again. I was physically attending one of the conferences by GNOBB in Dhaka, but this time it's online. It's a different feeling, but thank you for the opportunity. So today I will talk about development of technologies to achieve social goals. Since my background is technology, ICT is something that I'm playing with, information and communication technology. I was particularly interested in information, the word information as it is, like where information is born, how information is processed, and how information is delivered to the consumers. So, and communication is something very important as it can solve a lot of social issues. So information communication technology is the core of all of my, in my student life and also my research life. So I'm happy that I can talk about a couple of my technologies that we have developed so far. And we want to see how we can solve those issues. It's very simple technology, but you'll be glad to see that how it can impact, how we can touch people's life. So about myself, already Dr. Abid already mentioned, I was born in Bangladesh, but at the age of 18, after finishing my senior high school from Dhaka College, then I was a student at BUET. I came to Japan in 1988 under a scholarship, and I was the first batch under that scholarship scheme by Japanese government undergrad student. And all of my degrees, BSc, MSc, and PhD, I've made in Japan. And after that, I joined a company. I worked in the university. Then I joined a company called Avaya. It's a spin-off Bell Lab company in Japan, and it was headquartered in the United States. But we had to build the lab from the very scratch. I loved building the lab in Tokyo at the time. And then I moved to NTT Communications. It was the largest ISP, internet service provider at the time in the world. And I had experience there too. And then after that, I was a little bit frustrated because the technology we developed, it's very so advanced that it doesn't really go to the people that it should reach. Of course, it goes to somewhere that it doesn't mean that it goes to the people that we want to. So then after that frustration, I wanted to leave the company and came to Kyushu University. At the same time, I joined Grameen Communications in Bangladesh as well. So I have two jobs. One, the job in Kyushu University where they pay my salary and everything. But the Grameen job is a voluntary one, or you can say it's my after 5 job. And also the good news is after 5 o'clock in Japan, it's just 2 o'clock in Bangladesh. So it's very good that after 5 I can work very smoothly. And Friday is a holiday in Bangladesh, but Sunday we can work. So that's the way I can use my time both in Bangladesh and Japan. So what I do both in Grameen and Kyushu University, we develop the theory, the technology. And Grameen gives us the platform where we can use the technology and we can see the smiles, how technology can be used. And we get a lot of feedback from the consumers meaning people who are using the technology. The goal of the technology is we make sure that it reach and it can create some impact. So being an engineer, it's really a very great pleasure when we can see that the developed technology is being used by someone. So that's the happiness. So one way we can be on the desktop doing the right research papers, writing patents, that's one life. But the other side, when you see that whatever you developed, that somebody is using it and you can see people smile. So that's the part that we really enjoy doing this kind of research. So today, I will touch 4 points: how to identify a social problem, and how can we can directly use some technology that is existing technology, or you can develop some technology. You don't have to go to for the rocket science, but you can use or customize the technology that really fit with the requirements from the community that to make happy, and how we can engage the youth. That's the third point, and create social impact. So I will touch these 4 points in my discussion today. So one very visible point that everybody can easily understand: we have more than 7.5 billion people. Let's make it 7.8 maybe. So you'd be, some of you maybe who don't know it, but you'll be surprised to know that almost like 45% of the population, they live less than a $22.5 a day. So it means that we don't have many rich people in the world, even in this 21st century. So it goes under the poverty problem. And when somebody is poor, and then it stops a lot of other services. Poor means you don't have access to good education. Poor means you don't have access to healthcare. Poor means you don't have access to the financial services as well. 1 billion people, almost like 1/7 of the population in this 21st century, still cannot read or write. I'm not talking about Bangladesh. It's the whole world situation, 1/7 population more. And the third point is the frustrating one: 1.5 million children die of diarrhea each year. So 1.5 million, if you just make a simple math, if you divide by 365, it will give you 4,000. So it means every day we are losing 4,000 children, not people, children in one day. In all over the world. But as you know that in Bangladesh, very fortunately, these days, people do not die out of diarrhea, children, very much. The number of child death due to diarrhea reduced drastically. So we did a very good job in Bangladesh to reduce the number of child death. But you'll be surprised to hear that it's just a side information for you. Can anyone tell me, like, what is the largest cause of child death right now in Bangladesh? If you don't know, just let me tell you, it's drowning. Children die, 40% of the death is due to drowning in the pond. And it is also known that they die just from 9 o'clock to, from 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock. So it's the most where, you know, the mothers are busy in cooking and stuff, and the children go for play stuff and drown at the time. So let's go back to my original story. 1.5 million children, 4,000 people die out of diarrhea. And Bangladesh is not in that scenario. We are doing a very good job. But 1,400 people, children, die in India. So that's the largest community in the world in one country. And there was a question asked by WHO to the mothers of the children: what do you do when your children have diarrhea? And do you give them what liquid, or you stop liquid? Very simple question. And 35% of the mother, they answered that they stop liquid. So you can understand why the major reason why people are not only suffering but dying out of diarrhea. So we can translate this situation in this way. It's not a problem of the technology. We already developed this technology 50, 60 years ago. We know in Bangladesh, all Rohimapas and Korimbais, they know that all you have to do when your children has diarrhea, you can have just a pot of water and ekchinti lobon, and then you need some sugar, and all you have to do is gota gota, then you can save your children from diarrhea. But so it's not the problem of technology, and it's not a problem of financial problem. It's very cheap. The problem that I, as an ICT engineer, information communication technology engineer, we think that it's our responsibility, that the right information is not right there. So that's why it's happening. So the good news is right now we have 7.5 billion people. We have almost more than 7 billion mobile phones. So everybody is connected. So now how we can generate an information and how we can deliver that information to the right place at the right time is the question. So that's where I see that my responsibility comes in, and the community of ICT, they should play a role here. So today's talk will go about this healthcare, because this is the term that I want to use. I will try to give you more information on other projects as well, but I will focus on healthcare. So all the problems that I said, poverty, education, healthcare, and energy, these problems belong to a community. It is called BOP community, or base of the pyramid. So 7 billion people, if you look at this pyramid, 7.5 billion people, and you can see that people, the left part, it mentions about the number of population and their purchase power, $60 a day, $10 to $60, $1 and $8, less than $1. So these people, that people live under $5 a day, these are almost like 60% of the whole population, 66% of the whole population. And this population, if you look at this, the people who are living under $1 a day, we just leave them under the humanitarian organization. So, and almost all the BOP people have this kind of 4 type of characteristics: low literacy, technology do not reach them, low purchase power. So whoever designed business, they don't look at as their consumers. And it's an informal sector, and charity goes there. People try to solve the problem as a charity, not as a business. But people have, enormous power. If you can use their brain, if you can use their humanity, definitely we can solve a lot of problem. Not we can put it on the charity type of services there. So fortunately, we have many NGOs, NPOs still working on the BOP population to solve their problems. But from 1990, the world moved to produce MDGs and SDGs. So MDGs was until 2015 with 8 goals. And from 2016, another goal started. It's called Sustainable Development Goal. For MDGs, many people didn't know it, but SDGs became so popular. Everybody knows about SDGs. 17 goals, there are 169 targets and 230 indicators. So these 17 goals, they want to solve, or the indicators must be reached by 2030. So this is the goal, but the question is whether we can achieve it or not. So some people say that no, it will take 100 years, because if you look at the speed and everything, it will not reach by 2030. But how can we make the process faster is the question. So here we are, like, as a technology developers, we say that technology can really solve the problem in a faster and more efficient way. So another one, like, how do we look at this BOP community? So one way is, if you look at all this investment scenarios, all those Silicon Valleys and other big companies, they invest on the top layer, few $1 million, or in the middle layer, few $1,000. But nobody wants to try investing on the BOP layer. And it only just a few $100s, you can start a business with somebody. If you can look at, like in Bangladesh case, 70% of the business are like, very small businesses. We didn't look at them. They do their business by themselves. They don't use any technologies. They build their technology by themselves. It's anything. If you look at the transportation system in the rural areas, they have Korimon, Nosimon, or everything. It's developed by themselves. Our engineers do not make design their transportation system. If you look at their shops, the calculation system they use, they have all those baki khata, nagad khata by themselves. We do not do it. But recently, a lot of ICT engineers are working for them. This is the very good news. But the investment was less important. I'm not talking about only in Bangladesh, but it's the scenario of a lot of other countries in the developing world. So we don't want to see this BOP community as a BOP community. We want to see this community as a micro-entrepreneur layer so that technology and youth people can be engaged and we can develop technology for these young people in the BOP areas so that people can use their technology, use their entrepreneurship mind, and they can not only solve their issues, but also, their financial issues, but also can solve some social problems as well. One case that I always try to mention in the developed world, the way they use ICT, and in the developing world, emerging countries like us, the way we use technology, ICT technology especially. So in the developed countries, like I give the case of Japan, like where they use ICT on the top of the existing infrastructure. But if you go to the developing technology countries, we do not have this kind of infrastructure. That's why ICT comes in the middle. And then using ICT, we try to emulate the services, other services by ICT being at the core to provide services. So this is one of the service that in early 2000 in Bangladesh, everybody knows about the 789 system. I produced the slide for other people who do not know it, but I believe all of you know it, who's from Bangladesh. So they started, it was actually first in the history, world history, that Grameen phone started a system. It is called 789, health consultancy of a mobile phone. So what they did is like anyone can call to 789, and there was a call center. And you're surprised to know that in early 2000, there were 200 doctors in one call center to receive calls from anywhere from the world, anyone from Bangladesh, rural areas. So they provided three types of services. One is like they could consult any patient, they could refer to somebody, and also they could provide some second opinion as well. It was so popular. One day they received like 15,000 calls per day. So it was very good, but there were a lot of technology issues. There were a lot of other issues as well. So we studied, like I personally studied 10,000 calls of records. Like I wanted to see who is calling, what is the profile of that person? Is it from the rural area or from the urban area? And how long they talk? And there was a lot of drop of calls. So why did it happen? And how the doctor come to a conclusion, what kind of medicine should be provided. So we studied that from 10,000 records in early 2008. So then we wanted to solve the problem and came up with some solutions. So not only for the healthcare issues, we tried to design a smart village information platform. So where a village, there will be a lot of application servers. So people can use that server. I will give you all these examples later. So there will be some village small data. We are not talking about big data yet, but if we can communicate with other villages, then it will be a village big data. And a lot of decision can be efficiently made if this data is being available to the service providers. So very much fortunately, we work with many companies in Japan and also some universities in Bangladesh, cooperated with them, collaborated with them, and tried to solve this kind of issues from the village area, because most of the problems that we're talking about is in the village, in the rural areas. If you talk about the healthcare issues, these are the 3 points. The doctors don't want to stay in the rural or remote areas. That's why even we don't have enough doctors, but another issue is we cannot really send them to the rural areas. They have their choice because their livelihood requirements are not met. So we cannot really force them to go there. So the rural areas are empty. quality hospitals do not sustain without a stable income in rural areas. So that's the fact. And we cannot force any hospitals to go. And our government cannot really make efficient hospitals in every rural areas because our government are not very much strong in developing countries. I'm not talking about Bangladesh, but it's a scenario of any developing countries. And sometimes transportation cost is bigger than the treatment cost. So even if I give you this case of Bangladesh, the district hospitals are free, but transportation cost to come to Dhaka is way bigger. But if you go to African countries, the scenario is even worse because the country is big. So this is the biggest message that I want to give, where our technology development started. So if you look at any hospital or clinic, what do they have in a clinic or in a hospital? They have nurse, they have diagnostic tool, they have doctors. If it's a hospital, they have hospital beds as well. So those components, I think 4 types of components. So patients visit a hospital and they receive the service, they come back. So we wanted to think out of the box that can we make a walking hospital? So walking hospital meaning that if I want to change the scenario, that patient will visit hospital or the hospital should visit patient. So if you want to make this, it may look like fiction to many of you, but we can really make it happen. How? So if you can really check these kind of 4 components. So from these 4 components, one of the person, this nurse, she can work as a nurse and sort of like an executive and the diagnostic tool and doctor. So these 3 components, only the doctor is very difficult to have in a rural area. So if we can split this availability of the things, so we can have a village health worker, not in a nurse quality. And this diagnostic tool, very good news these days, because the diagnostic tools are becoming smaller, cheaper, and more efficient. So we can really compact and put all those diagnostic tools in a box. And that is actually finally becomes a portable health clinic. So only the missing part that we cannot produce many doctors in the rural areas, or we cannot really ask them to go to the rural areas. So the idea is we can keep the doctors in a remote area. By using technology, we can reach them. And doctors' time can be scheduled, and even making more efficient. The doctor from anywhere in the world, even a Bangladeshi doctor in Japan, they can also can be included in our system depending on the time scenario. So this is how we can make the walking hospital or the hospital visit to the patients. So they don't have to come here and the hospital will go. So transportation cost can be minimized. And also people who are in this risky patient, they can't really, it will be easier for them to receive any services at home. So that becomes possible. So as I have mentioned, that these kind of tools can be put in a portable health clinic. Only the doctor part goes in the other side. And this is another issue that these days, many of you know that our average lifespan is increasing day by day. In Japan, they have the longest lifespan in the world, 87 years for ladies and 85 for men, and 87 in Bangladesh. They are actually doing very good job in healthcare area. Our average lifespan is right now at 72 years. So expected life to 72 years. So if you look at this lifespan, how we want to span this life, we want to increase the healthy life and decrease the unhealthy life. We have to die anyway, but there should be a reason. So do you want to long-term care in a way, whether you need long-term care or you become disabled at the time? So that really, this part cost more, you suffer more. So we want to reduce this unhealthy life. So one way we can do is what Japan is doing, why they have a healthy life as well. They are in the other developed countries as well. They monitor health, and they also do preventive measure of healthcare as well. So I'm going to introduce one of those technology that we are trying to make preventive healthcare system. So this is the solution that we came up with. This is the box that we developed. It's a prototype. So inside the box, we have all these healthcare diagnostic tools, and it will be carried by a healthcare worker. Healthcare worker was certified a community healthcare worker, and she will get one training from us. So she becomes an entrepreneur. She will not be a salaried person. So she can do a business by herself by using this technology. So our responsibility will be to train her, and train her both way, from technical way and business way, so that she can make a very small local micro entrepreneurship can be possible. So I'm going to talk about this a little bit more. So our system has 4 components. One is the box. Number 2 is the micro entrepreneur, and the call center as telemedicine, and the GNOBB health database system. So this is becoming very powerful. All this information and the software system. Currently, we are working on artificial intelligence as well to understand, interpret the data, and also at the same time to make some prediction to understand which patient needs what. It's not only the training, but also for the preventive healthcare. It reduces the cost and also can provide efficient decision mechanism for the doctors as well. So I will skip a couple of slides, but I can show a small video to show how it works. Portable health clinic, she is the lady, and we have 4 components, as I mentioned. This is the box. Inside the box, we have all these small apparatus to test your blood, urine, and height, weight, and also blood sugar level and everything. So she takes the measurement, and also she takes a note on the paper, and at the same time, she puts all the information in a local server. Local server actually is nothing but a small tablet PC. So all the information she collects, she puts it in the tablet PC, and into the tablet PC, we have a triad system to classify the patients into 4 colors. So green means you are healthy, and red means you are not healthy. So once the information is classified, doctor can talk only the risky patients, and they talk, doctor can see the information, and doctor can write a prescription, and the prescription can be locally printed. So all of the functionality of one clinic can be done by this box and the other 3 components that I mentioned. So we can really reach the unreached community in the world. We started in 2010 from very much experimental way to check whether the system works. We wanted to see whether people can use it, whether it works nicely, and also the devices that we use, whether it produce accurate or not. So there are so many research aspects, and we try to do that. And after 10 years, we found that we provided more than like 45,000, it's 2018, actually, we have more than 45,000 people. And we found that 60%, if we take random sample, even in rural areas, 60% of the people, they were actually safe, and 40% people were affected. So all this 40%, you don't need 100% people to go talk to doctors. You can save a lot of doctors' time as well. So doctor can only look at them and give them prescriptions. And also this kind of color, you don't need any education to understand this color. So when people see the prescription, they can see what color they belong to. For each component, we give this color. So it is possible. So now the next challenge is how we can get the people in green areas so that they do not go to the red area, red zone. And also, can we provide some sort of activities or medications or some sort of suggestions so that the activity can prove that the red zone people can come back to green area? And we also did that kind of survey, and we found that 6 months later, some people transferred from the red zone to green zone as well. So we are not sure whether our medication really worked. It may be for other factors that we couldn't really do, but we found that people can move from the red zone to green zone, which proves that the technology should work. So this is the Triad system, how it works. It has two modes, regular mode and epidemic and disaster mode as well. So in Japan, it's an epidemic, a lot of disasters are here. We are working together as a team. Like, what shall we do after a natural disaster? When we have an earthquake, what should we do in 72 hours? So there's a team who wants to make sure that the housing will be available, that the water supply people who can make sure that water supply will be, all this basic need will be there. On the secondary way, they want to see everybody is safe in a sense that whether they are sick or not sick. Even there are some people who are already patients, they need medications anyway, right? Like diabetic patients and other NCD patients. So from the past experience in 9/11, in not 9/11, 3/11, in 2011, there was a tsunami. Afterwards, found that that some patients couldn't find medicine, so they had to die. And also in Kumamoto, they had this problem. So the team from our university gave this proposal. So in 72 hours, can we send this kind of portable health clinic to that disaster-prone area so that it can actually triage these patients who need some sort of service and who do not need other services. So it's not only the physical health, it talks about the mental health as well. So that's also very important. So that goes for the disaster mode. And also in the pandemic area, we worked in for ICD. We different now from COVID-19. We developed another logic. It is called C logic. How to make this kind of information so that the healthcare worker should not visit the patient directly, but they can give some symptoms analysis so that they don't have the transmission risk can be reduced. For remote healthcare anyway, transmission can be reduced anyway, but we wanted to make sure that the healthcare worker from that community who knows their patient very well, they know their past histories as well, it will be easier for them to better diagnose or give them some suggestions whether they should visit hospitals or not. So that's the scenario we did. Not only in Bangladesh, we worked in different countries in Asia, and we develop our applications in other languages, in 8 different languages. Many type of challenges we had in different developing countries. Social challenges were like people really want to see a real doctor. They don't want to see a virtual doctor. So since we are saying that the doctor will be somewhere on the, it will come on your screen, but they may be fake doctors. So how can we increase the trust? So there is a question from the patients that how can you really can you not trust your service? Technical challenges, the quality of the services, and we also have a lot of medical errors. When a doctor can see a patient in front of them, a doctor can really see not only the physical status and what they're talking about, but they can make a lot of assessments by seeing the patient. But seeing the patient over the telephone or over video, they cannot get all this information together. So there are some technical challenges that we want to solve, that many medical errors are there where when the healthcare worker insert the patient's profile in the system, they make mistakes. And we found a lot of ways to estimate those kind of errors and detect those errors by statistical analysis and reduce those kind of errors as well. And there's a business challenge as well, because we are dealing with poor people. Should they bring money from their own pocket or not? So, and even for preventive healthcare, people sell their cows and everything when people are going to die, or if the situation is very severe. Then they come to urban areas, to urban hospitals, even private hospitals, and they want to go to the most famous doctor, getting an appointment, and they die on the way. There's so many bad cases. So how can you make a business challenge for the preventive healthcare? People don't want to pay for preventive healthcare. They want to pay after they become sick. They don't want to spend money for when they're, even myself, I don't want to spend money. Why? So those kind of challenges are there. But it was challenges a few years ago, but right now, situation is changing. Technology is developing. Social challenges are understandable. People have awareness, and people are spending money on healthcare as well after this pandemic. So in our one of my PhD student, we made a big survey. Do they really trust e-doctors? So we made one survey on 600 people in one community to check whether they really like this survey or not. In the conclusion, what we found that out of the prescribed persons, almost like 75% people bought medicine. So this is like an not a direct way, an indirect way to see whether they like the service or not. So if they purchase the medicine, it means prescribed medicine, they trust them. If they don't purchase the medicine from their own pocket, then we will know that they are not really liking it. So fully compliant, 75%, 23% people are partially compliant. They didn't purchase the whole medicine. We traced them. This is how we understood. And then only 2% people didn't buy medicine. So we can explain many things why those are fully compliant and why they are partially compliant. There was a very interesting story. One of the patients told us that he doesn't want to buy all medicine once at a time, because if he buys it partially every day, he can visit the pharmacy and he can walk and he can chat with the other friends in local bazaar, like a local hut. So that gives him some activities as well. So this is the reason. It's not the economical reason that people don't buy medicine. So it was sort of like a very good research that we found. We used a well-known technology acceptance model to find out the factors and also find out the compliance as well. So this is one of the research background, but one thing that I want to emphasize that we cannot replace a doctor. So there are a lot of robots and also analytics coming in. Statistically, we can say so many things, but from policy issues or whatever, we can't really replace a doctor. We shouldn't. So technology can only assist the doctor, not replacing the doctor, assist the doctor. So finally, the doctor should make the decision, whatever the decision. Technology can only assist them. So this is the big message I want to give whoever is working in artificial intelligence, machine learning algorithms for healthcare issues. So, and we are also trying to predict the prescription. Prescription can be written by the doctor. But if writing a prescription is like if you talk about the components of how a doctor can make prescriptions, because his brain is equipped with some information, and that information can be done by computers as well, and the decision can be made by the computers as well. So we try to see from a past record, and past record meaning records, electronic health records from past history, and also the communication between the patient and doctor. It's just we can have the speech to text technology to put it in the text file, and the prediction algorithm can work to make a suggestion for the doctor. So doctor can only see and check whether the prescription is right or wrong. So it will reduce doctor's time, it will reduce errors, and it will reduce medical cost as well, and it will improve healthcare service providing as well. So, and recently we started another work that it's not only poor people who needs it, but also a lot of disabled people. Three reasons why people are unreached for healthcare services: because of poverty, because of rurality, and because of disability. So the two things, poverty and rurality, can be done because we can provide by using portable health clinic, we can provide low-cost healthcare services or affordable services to the poor people. And the rural problem can be done because we are replacing, by using the technology, we can reach the doctors anyway. So we don't probably need to the areas where we cannot build a hospital, portable health clinic can work there. So the third component, disability. So people like I can give only one example. So you can imagine a patient who cannot speak. So, but the patient can express by using their hand. It is called sign language, and some expression. So a person with sign language, can they communicate with a doctor who doesn't understand sign language? So we are developing a technology which will be like sign language to text, is it called SLTT? And on the way back, the doctor can speak, and doctor's audio can be converted into text, and from text it can convert it to sign to disabled person. So the disabled person can talk to a doctor by using their sign language. So this is what we need: a person with disability, sign to text. It will build healthcare data, and from doctor, prescription data can be produced, and it will go from text to sign as well to the PWD patient. So we can solve this kind of disability problem as well, partially. How can we make this micro entrepreneur? You can imagine an unemployed girl, a healthcare worker. This is about Bangladesh scenario. In 6 to 12 months, you can get a certificate. And after that, we can give a 2 weeks training, how to operate this box, and some entrepreneurship training. How much time do I have? I'm almost spent 45 minutes. So after getting a lot of interest from different countries, we developed a company that university cannot really do business. So outside the company, we made a new startup. It is called Social Tech Japan. So from Japanese technology, we want to reach, by 4 of us, 2 Japanese and 2 Bangladeshis, we build this company and it will work as a social business way. We are not working for profit. We're not working for money, but we want to see how many smiles we can create in the rural areas, in different or poor people or disabled people in different developing countries, including Asia and Africa. So the model is, we try to use the Grameen's model. It's a very proven model for rural areas in different countries as well. So we will use this Grameen philosophy that we can make investment in the micro entrepreneur layer as a social business way. So small amount, but create big impact. So what I talked about today, the problem that I'm trying to identify, social problem, that impossible to run hospitals in rural areas. It's very difficult to increase the number of doctors in rural areas as well. And the solution that we talked about, the walking hospital that can go to the patient side. So patient shouldn't come to the hospital. So how much problem can we solve? We cannot really fully solve the whole problem, but if we can even solve 5% of the problem, that also speaks the volume. It's very big. So we are also trying to solve not the charity way, it's a business way. If you can create business in the rural areas, you can create entrepreneurship in the rural areas, it will be good for them. And there are a lot of research challenges. That's why we are in the university to continue our research, how we can reduce the cost, reduce the errors, and make an efficient decision in an affordable way. And it can be a reverse innovation. That's a big message for the developed countries as well. Also losing people in the rural areas. So what the Bangladesh scenario today, it will be the same scenario 10 years later in Japan. So if this technology is proven in Bangladesh now, it can be reversely innovated. It means that the technology can come to Japan and they can use it 10 years later. So there are some policy and privacy issues as well. I think I'll stop here. So what we do, we try to promote this kind of activities to many organizations. So we have a conference in each year. So this time it will be on October 1 to 3. It's online, it's free of charge. So you can know what is happening, not only by us, but other part of the world. They're developing technologies for solving social issues. So thank you very much. I think I will finish it here. Abid, bye, up to you. You're muted, Abid.